Dark of All Trades presents Professor Dark explains logical fallacies. Begging the question. Begging the question occurs when the conclusion is assumed in one of the premises. This is also known as assuming the answer. Begging the question is a form of circular reasoning, and in fact, the two generally refer to the same thing, so that modern usage tends not to distinguish between them. In logical form, this would be, claim X assumes X is true, therefore claim X is true. As a note, in the current colloquial sense, people use the phrase begs the question to mean raises the question or leads to the question. This is different from the begging the question fallacy, saying, for example, you are so incredibly smart, which begs the question, why do you need to study at all? In this case, it isn't referring to the fallacy, but simply stating that the first part leads the speaker to ask the follow-up question. Some examples. 1. I know ghosts exist because I saw what could only be described as a ghost. 2. Astrology is real because I'm a Scorpio, and Scorpios believe in astrology. 3. I have free will because I can decide to raise my hand or not raise my hand. 4. The right to life is the most important right because all other rights are inferior to it. An example from apologetics. One type of apologetic is called presuppositional apologetics. This is done by assuming that a God must exist in order for logic to exist. It asserts that without a God, and by extension the Bible, we cannot make sense of the world or anything for that matter. Arguably, one of their main points in a syllogism would be 1. If the Bible were not true, logic would not be meaningful. 2. Logic is meaningful. 3. Therefore the Bible is true. This argument has a number of issues. Other issues aside, this argument commits the begging the question fallacy by asserting that the Bible is true by purporting that for logic to be meaningful, the Bible must be true, therefore the Bible must be true. A bonus example from apologetics. The idea of intelligent design is, on its face, almost entirely a begging the question fallacy. To put it briefly, the main argument looks something like this. 1. There is an order in creation. 2. This order can only come from a supernatural, intelligent designer. 3. Therefore, God exists. This argument has several issues as well. In this case, the fallacy is a bit more subtle. In premise 1, the term creation assumes an agent. Couple that with premise 2, assuming that there is a supernatural agent, and you get a double dose of begging the question. To rephrase this in a more obvious way, this argument says, 1. There is something made by God. 2. This can only come from God. 3. Therefore God exists. How to avoid committing this fallacy? If you are not sure whether your argument begs the question or not, break the argument down into its parts. Taking an argument and putting it into a formal syllogism can help point out issues with the logic. There are assumptions built into different points, and this method can help expose them. For example, going back to the first example, putting it into a syllogism, it looks like this. 1. I saw a ghost. 2. Therefore ghosts exist. There is an underlying assumption in premise 1. The premise asserts that we know it was a ghost and not something else, such as a hallucination or someone playing a prank. This makes a full syllogism look like this. 1. I saw a ghost. 2. I know what I saw was a ghost. 3. Therefore ghosts exist. Dealing with this argument. If you suspect someone is committing the begging the question fallacy, identify and ask for clarification on the problematic terms. A lot of times, the words are dressed up or the language is flowery in order to hide these problematic terms. Restate the argument using the new clarification to point out the circularness to the argument. Do not ever be afraid to ask for someone to demonstrate their premise to be true. Remember, a good argument in support of a claim will offer independent evidence or reasons to believe that claim. Any questions?